Welcome back. You're watching Morning Live. Thank you for staying with us. Now, the role of design and design thinking is having a far larger impact on business than it had several years back, especially here in South Africa. Local design and designers are becoming sought after worldwide, and as a nation, we are creating some of the most exciting designs that is currently taking shape worldwide. Now, to highlight this, the Johannesburg Design Week is being held at the Rand Show until Sunday, the 23rd of April. It's aimed at making great design accessible to people from all walks of life. To tell us more, we're joined in studio by Dave Nemeth, organizer of the Johannesburg Design Week. And she's been on the show before, Paula Gribben, one of the authors participating in the Authors' Day workshops and masterclasses. Dave, I said your surname right, eh?
Nemeth.
Nemeth.
We got it.
Nemeth, there we go. Dave, talk to me about this idea, because it started 6 years ago. And what was the idea then, 6 years ago?
You know, most cities around the world have a design week or a focus on design. We've got a lot of design expos in this country, which are fantastic. But what we found is they generally aim at the same audience with the same designers. If we want to grow design in this country, we need to take it to a far broader audience.
Hence the Rand Show.
Correct. And we were brought on board the Rand Show to turn it around a bit and create some new initiatives. And it seemed like the perfect platform, firstly being a heritage brand of over 120 years old.
Can you believe it? Wow.
And it's obviously continued to evolve. I mean, it started off selling cattle, and if we still did that today, I don't think there'd be a place for it, you know. So it seemed like the perfect place with over 250,000 people visiting to say, well, we've got this wealth of design in this country. How do you get involved in design? How can design be a career for you? But also, how can you appreciate design? So when you see this piece of furniture that costs an arm and a leg, you understand.
I love what you're saying, making it accessible to everybody, because I do think, honestly, and I'll bring Paul into this conversation now, that we have this very silo idea of what design is. We don't think of design in almost every aspect of our day-to-day lives.
It's so true. I like to say design is everything. And especially in business, a process has to be designed. Absolutely everything has that design thinking behind it. And I think with the way business is currently and the disruptions we have, it's so important for companies people to understand the essence and the importance of design.
Paul, and this is maybe where my mind is on the fringe a little. When we think of design, I have never thought of books, literature, in that construct. I think of furniture and everything else Dave is saying. Talk to me about the author's element to a grand idea like design.
Well, basically, like Dave was saying, it's design thinking. And for me, I'm coming from a self-publishing angle. And as an entrepreneur or an authorpreneur, you have to wear many caps. So it's not just research and writing a book, but it is the typesetting, the layout, the cover design, right through your marketing and your publicity, and all of that involves design processes. So for me, I think a lot of people thought, why Authors' Day at Johannesburg Design Week? But the kind of delegates we are hoping to get to our Authors' Day are aspiring authors who need to understand that there are various ways of getting their book out to the public. There is traditional publishing, and there is self-publishing, and there's also hybrid publishing, which is a combination of both. So, for example, a traditionally published author might decide, you know what, my next book I would like to self-produce, and then they become an indie author as well. And I see a lot of bands and authors and a lot of creatives going that route. So they don't just sign a deal with a record producer or a book publisher. They decide to do things themselves. So once they've got enough experience and they feel confident enough to do it, why not? The profit margin is much higher, but you've got to see yourself as a business. So I'm a one-woman show. I'm doing everything on my own. If I had gone the traditional publishing route, I would have had a lot of people doing stuff for me, but I wouldn't have learned anything. This way, I know that any future books that I produce, I can do on my own.
So from a design aspect, those are some of the things that you'll be covering yourself as obviously your book was called Umbilicus, it was autobiographical. So from that type of discussion, you will then be with the panel and sharing those insights.
Correct.
combining that with the idea of design, what are some of the other things that will be catered for at the Design Pavilion?
We've got a host of workshops happening at the same time as well. So we've got things by Adobe, which are one of the leading software programs, doing workshops on different platforms, how to get involved, how you can start using the software. We have a trend day where we're actually looking at the future of business and saying this is how design is influencing the future of business, with case studies and a lot of research that we've done as to where it's going. I mean, the only certainty in business today is the death of business as we know it. I think every time we look at the news or we see another app, things have changed. And there's this uncertainty, and we're trying to empower people to understand that you've got to make these changes. You've got to embrace this design thinking and understand that you have to take things to market sooner possibly than waiting for them to be perfected.
You've got Project 81, Inscape Education Group. What is happening?
So one of our key collaborators is Inscape Education Group, which are the largest independently owned education groups around the country. And they do phenomenal work. And they've got a project called Project 81. Project 81 is 81 projects done by all their students around the country, making product out of the waste of carpet materials.
Wow.
So every single product that you will see on display, all 81 of them, have been created by students out of this waste material. And when you have a look at them, you would never say that this came from waste material.
Wow, that's very, very clever. Paula, when a young author, and I think this is maybe one of, you've touched on it briefly, but it's also the shift that only a certain demographic can self-publish, and that a certain grouping has access to. Will some of those issues be tackled as well within this design discussion?
Absolutely. For example, I had no money to start off with, and I don't know if you guys have heard of crowdfunding. It is a great way to raise capital. So
for books?
For books. If you need to hire an editor or a cover designer, you crowdfund. You offer great rewards to the people who finance the project. And that's how I managed to raise the capital I needed to do my first print run. And then I basically, the profit from that, I used to bankroll my second print run. And so it goes on. And you've got to be constantly thinking on your feet. There's no hard and fast rule, the right way or the wrong way to do things. But when you've got no money to do it, like the saying goes, 'n boer maak 'n plan. And I had to make a plan. And it's been such a fun process. And I want to inspire other young people who have got a lot of intellectual capital, but they don't have the financial capital to get it to market. And you know what? It can be done, and I'm going to show them how.
Perfect. This sounds absolutely amazing. Maybe I should come as well. I could learn something.
Yay.
I could learn something. Dave Nemeth, organizer of the Johannesburg Design Week, and Paula Gruben. She's an author-trepreneur. Is it author?
Authorpreneur.
It's a brand new word, and it's a tongue twister. I love that word, by the way.
Thank you.
It's clever. Okay. They're at the RAND show. Go and find out the details. If for anybody who's thinking about design, how design impacts your life, if you are out there and you want to know the best, Dave and his team will provide it for you. We take an ad break. Don't go anywhere.